Welcome to this week's episode of Designing Success. This is a very ad hoc episode. I wasn't going to bring you an episode this week because I have a 90-minute seminar that I'm running at Decor Design next Wednesday, and I'm deep in planning, executing, making sure that is the very best version of AI education that I can bring to interior designers, as it's like the very big one that I do for the year. I'm expecting a big turnout. I'm really excited, but some of you will have noticed that Anthropic have opened the world's best artificial intelligence open for free for the last sort of week or so. It was due to expire on the 7th of July. And so on the 6th of July, I sat up until approximately 2:30 in the morning, making sure that I drained every single token that I had. So I am on the max plan, which means I have 5 times the amount of usage on Anthropic at Claude as somebody on a pro plan, for example. And I used every single drop of it. I was at 98% in the morning, and I woke up and there was an announcement from Anthropic that they had extended it until July the 12th. So I was a bit grumpy because I have bags on my bags under my eyes because I don't usually hang out till 2:30 in the morning coding. But well played. That's on me. I didn't want to miss out. But you know what? I really don't want you to miss out either. And I think there are a lot of interior designers out there who are thinking, I don't know enough about AI to play in this space. I don't develop, I don't code, I don't know what to do with it. And so this is an emergency episode for you because I want to show you what I did with my 98%. It resets at 7 a.m. on Saturday for all of us, I think. I think it's the same time frame in Australia, or maybe it depends when you signed up. I'm not sure. But mine resets at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I will still have 24 hours. So I am currently mapping out what I will be doing on Saturday all the way into the early hours of Sunday morning when it starts to become a paid tool. But I want to talk to you about some of the things that I have done and how accessible, and whether I think there's something that you can do, or maybe even give you some suggestions on how you can do it in perhaps a way that's not quite so techy. So stick around. If you are listening to this on Apple or Spotify, I would strongly suggest that you flip to the YouTube version. I will put the link to the YouTube clip in today's show notes. And the reason being is I'm going to share screen and show you a bunch of different apps. I'm going to show you what I did. I am never a gatekeeper. Nothing's overly commercially sensitive. So I want you to have what I have in my business now because I want us all to win. The thing I will say up front is if you're overwhelmed by all of these like applications and things and they look a little techy for you, strip it right back and think about, is there any way that I can ask the right business questions? There are a few different ways that you can use Fable or find Fable in Claude. The first is just in chat. Down the bottom of chat, you get to select your model. It could be Haiku, Sonnet, Opus, or Fable 5. So if you're not feeling confident, just chat to the king, chat to Fable 5. And it will become apparent that you're getting excellent strategic responses, etc. The other way is you can, when you're in that same chat view, you can switch to co-work and you can work with Fable 5. So when you're working in co-work, you're essentially saying, I want you can look around this particular folder in my computer, or we can do an activity together. You're working with locally on your computer. So you could say, okay, I want you to look at all of my marketing content and we're going to come up with a strategy, for example. Or you could go to run an Instagram analytic report and save it in a folder and then say, there's all of my analytics, let's go. So that's in co-work. The other way is to go into code. This is a bit more techy. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I just want to know what you built, but I don't think I'm ready for code, don't go there. Just stay in chat to Fable. That's how you find Fable 5. If you are ready for something a little bit more, like a build of one of the apps that I'm about to show you, start in code. But before you go there, please work with a cheaper model like Opus or Sonnet or Haiku to create a plan and a brief. Do not go to the king with a little bit of an idea and get them to unpack that idea with conversations. You will waste all of your credit and then you'll be ready to do the thing and Fable will say, sorry, your free time is over. So I want you to go in regular chat, even ChatGPT. I don't care where you go to have a conversation, get all of your ideas out, then ask the large language model that you're using, Chat or Claude, can you create a project scope or a brief or an action plan for me to take this to Fable. Okay, so that is the best way to use it. We are talking about the king. I call it the king. So when I'm thinking about the models, I've got Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus, which in my mind are Haiku is your everyday slides. You use it for just reading or big tasks. It's just a cheap, easy model. Sonnet is your best pair of Levi's. It's a pair of jeans that works for almost every occasion. You look great in them. It does a great job. Opus is our black tie event. You don't wear Opus to the letterbox or to the bins. You wear Opus when you're doing strategic thinking, a big project like restructuring a website, something like that. Opus is for special events because it costs a lot more, it takes a lot more of your tokens, and it is a lot better at thinking and doing or performing tasks. And in comes Fable. Fable is the king. We don't get the king to do work that the peasants can do, right? We actually need to think about what's king level thinking in my business. So I'm talking strategy. I'm talking coding that's beyond you, perhaps, or you really want to get agentic AI. So building out a whole marketing agency of robots, for example. So I'm not going to get too much into it because I feel like I'm going to lose some of you at the beginning of the session. I actually just want to show you. And then I want you to go away or stop this episode as you need to and take notes in your phone. And then please promise me you'll go away and do one thing with Fable. It's free right now, and then it's going to be a really expensive model, one that most of you will not pay for. I certainly won't. I cash flow modeled what it would cost to run what I do on Fable, and it was upwards of 8,000 Australian dollars a month. I ain't paying that. I don't want you to pay that. So I'm going to give you some tips on things that I think if you've got something sitting there that is essentially one of the greatest thinkers that could look at your business as it is right now and make some commercial decisions with you. It could do some strategy work with you. Or what I think Fable's really good for is you get the king to map out the plan so that it is king level thinking. And later on, we'll just get the workers to build it. So what am I going to start with? I'll start with things that I think you guys could be doing yourselves. So first and foremost, one of the activities that I did early on was I had over 40 skills. I got it to audit those skills. I said, look at all of my skills, flag anything that doesn't feel right, make sure, essentially what I want you to do is audit them for king level thinking. And if they're not a king level thinking, upgrade them, rewrite them, enhance them, make them king level thinking. And I got it to go through. It found a couple of duplicates. It found a few dead price links and price points because I had a beta round of Studio Build recently, a couple of months ago. So we changed all that pricing to current. It did find a few mentions of Oleander and Finch in there. So I feel great. It's all cleaned up. And I have read through them and it did enhance them. So let me show you just what I mean, some of my skills that I have. This is going to be a very share screeny kind of episode. The first thing I'll show you is just these are all the new upgraded skills. So I have a skill that edits my podcast, like does a pre-edit for me. I have one that humanizes my content, that creates a handover document when chats are getting a bit out of hand, a very detailed handover document. We have the SOP writer for the designers that I coach. There's all sorts of things you can see, like repurposing scripts and offer suites and all the sorts of things that it needs to know about my business. This is just a taste, but I absolutely loved having eyes across this and having Fable really bring these up into the next era of my business. I would highly recommend doing that. It's a quick win. It doesn't touch coding. You weren't using Fable anyway, so let's get into it. The next thing I'm going to show you is my new website. Some of you will have visited that before. Now, I actually built this with Claude in the back end of WordPress recently, but I did get Fable to go through it and look for any security issues, look for bugs, because I built it with AI. I did want to make sure, is this at risk? Is there a problem? I'm not a web developer. I wanted to be really sure. So being able to get Claude to go in and look at, even from a high level strategy perspective around conversion, it gave me some excellent copy change advice, but it is not a copywriter. Please don't use your Fable tokens being like, hey, let's do this. Let's chat about that. It is really good for some of the bigger picture stuff. So from the website, once it had done that full look at it, I said, I want you to actually actively, strategically map my funnel going forward so that I am ready to perhaps do some paid advertising for Studio Build in 2 launches time. I gave it a timeline. I am a big believer in organic marketing, but I'm 8 years, almost 9 years into business, and I'm very open to trying new things. So we had a big sort of strategy session around that, but I loved the idea that the back end of the website has been audited by king level thinking. So I'm loving that. And if you haven't tried something like this, you don't necessarily have to go in and build an entire website. You don't you can just go and take what you've got and see if you can get some really good get it to be brutal, to roast it, to make some really good strategy decisions about what you could change, as well as considering some of that bigger picture stuff like AEO, GEO, SEO, how Google is changing. Get Fable, the big king thinker, to pull together the plan to meet those changes. Before I get into all of the apps, I do want to mention that I was so busy building, I haven't gone in and used them. I've just done a test and I've done mock people and mock situations. Nothing here is commercially sensitive to me, so don't stress too much. But my launch command center is a place where I am going to start really intentionally tracking during launch what podcast episodes did I put out and what were they about? What emails did I send and what were the click-through rates? And what I'm really starting to think more about analytics in this new era. And because it's never been easier to pull things through, it's all connected. So as long as I let it go to Flowdesk, my email platform, it can be tracking all of these analytics without me. The funnel needs to be fully documented here. But what happens is I can log things like a decision that I make mid-launch to change things. What I essentially have in the background is king level launch strategy and a support, because we know that launching Studio Build is not a course. It is live co-building sessions, but it's still, if you've marketed or built things, you'll know there's a runway, there's a pre-launch, there's card open, there's post-launch, there's a post-mortem that we go through, there's getting ready, all of that sort of stuff. So I have built it so I can track that. So this is September. We are going to start pre-launch on the 19th, and I'll deliver the next Studio Build on the 8th of September. So cart opens, like it's all starting to get tracked. There's strategy built into the back end. There's a lot of planning. I have not had a chance to play in here because I was too busy building it, but I'm really excited to set it up right and start using it during that one launch, because this is a launch HQ, but it's also a launch learner. So it has the ability to think like Fable in the back end, but also pick out patterns because it's AI, learn from the launches and guide me into better business, because I really struggle with launches. I will be very honest with that. I don't like this sort of pop champagne corks and doors open, doors closed, and I don't like disingenuous marketing. And so I tend to lose a lot of energy during launches and stuff because I find them difficult, especially when it's not a course. It's just a way to coach people in a group environment. And there are just so many online it's just such a difficulty for me. So when I sat down to map what I wanted in Fable, I was like, what would actually support me? Do you know what would actually support me? Being able to look at all the launch history and actually understand how the market works. I am very practical. If I can see analytics, you can add a sale in and track who that was and write all sorts of stuff in here. So I'm really excited about using this on the daily. I also put Fable brief that this had to take no more than 8 minutes to keep live updated per day. And there is a calendar appointment in my calendar for Launch Command Center, LCC, 8 minutes a day. I am committed. I hope I can show you this at the end of the year and really we can see, oh, wow, that is really tracking. This next one that I'm going to show you is actually an artifact. So not everything has to be deployed onto the internet as a web and have passwords and be set up in a secure way. Coding can get tricky if you're not familiar with it. So there is an ability for you just to build something as an artifact. Now, an artifact lives in the desktop app of your Claude, so that actually every time you're inside of Claude, you can access your own little apps. It's just no one else can, and they are not live on the websites the way that a deployed application will be. So let me show you an artifact, because maybe you want to build one with Fable. Okay, this one is an artifact of mine, and it is a marketing command center. Okay, so again, the analytics, they matter. I want to be able to be like, what's happening right now? So one of the key things, so this has my Instagram strategy for the next 90 days created by the king. in the back end. So it's actually holding me accountable to what I've decided with AI is the right strategy for me going forward. The first thing it wanted to do is to change saving 25 hours a week in studio to protecting your studio. So protect and professionalize your studio is the new bio in Instagram. Just one line, we're A/B testing it. I have not filled this out. I was too busy building it. I know that it's strong in the back end. I do not have time till after Decor and Design seminar to actually track these things, but it is going to be tracking my Instagram once a week. And again, I told Fable, this has to be 15 minutes on Marketing Monday. I'm not doing more than 15 minutes. The agent is live to pull the stats for Flowdesk. The agent is live to pull my podcast stats. I will manually put in the YouTube stats. I hope they spike this week. I hope you're watching this on YouTube because it is a lot of effort to show up to put your face on the internet like that on YouTube. And I'd really love to grow the channel. LinkedIn, I'm also going to be putting in. And then this will basically, right now, I'll be getting this off my Launch HQ app. However, this is phase 1, and I got Fable to write the scope to change into phase 2 when I'm happy with these platforms. And all of these will pull in direct from Instagram, from LinkedIn. I just right now have gone more manual until I can feedback what I like. Okay. So what we did is we did a baseline 30-day window of my statistics, like in the last 30 days. Just this is where we opened up. There was 166,000 new reach on Instagram. That was 84,000 non-followers. There was nearly 3,000 profile visits, links, taps, over 1,000 new followers. Fantastic. This is what happened in the last 30 days of my business. So now, as I'm saving each week, it's basing itself off that 30 days, and we're starting to track patterns, what the audience wants. So just get more strategic, make copy that people actually want to engage with, okay? It's given me from my Instagram strategy, like what I need to be doing. I don't have time to do this. I'm not revisiting this until after, so it'll be at least 14 days till it gets some love. But yep, so again, weekly actions and then experiments. Like the experiment was to change the Instagram bio and then see if we can affect those, lift the tap through rates to the website. And what am I seeing here? So it's saying like what the dashboard is actually telling you. Yeah, so just a lot of decisions, and it will give me some information about the definitions and data. I can export that whole report if I wanted to. I'm not going to get super into this dashboard, but this is an artifact. So this lives in Claude. So on my Marketing Mondays, I just go into Claude and I go into my artifact section, and I've got a bunch of them, like little mini micro apps. This doesn't cost me money with APIs or anything like too complicated. You can build anything you want. You could just go right now to Fable and say, build me an artifact that's a dashboard. Ask me any questions. If you're not sure where to get the information from, ask me. Yeah, you could just have a little play. You didn't make it, you can't break it. It is such a mantra for me. I am so worried that all of these free tokens, they're all going in the bin because nobody's doing anything with them. So I hope this episode is going to encourage you to just be like, I want one of those. Explain what I just said. Hold the podcast up to Fable and be like, this girl's going on and on. She's got all these things. I want the same. Do that. I don't think you'll get a particularly great artifact, but I think that you've got a good starting point if you can see mine. Let me introduce you to the boardroom. This is probably, do I want to say favorite? I love this application. I know I'm going to use it all the time. I am a solo company owner. I don't have any staff, and I don't have a boardroom. I don't have a board of directors. I don't have people playing devil's advocate all the time. I have ChatGPT and Claude telling me how excellent I am all day, every day, despite having a lot of settings that specifically ask them not to. This is an environment where that will never happen. I have built a boardroom, and it is for me to convene the board. I bring something, a specific question or decision, not help me with my business or please make me better, make me rich. None of that. Something like I'm thinking about doing X. I'm worried it's going to dilute the message for Y, blah, 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 blah. Inside of my boardroom still needs to be set up. So I'm showing you the very beta round. The back end that was built with Fable is incredibly strategic. It has commercial business plans, strategy, and content and everything for the next 12 months. So I've spent a lot of time building out what feeds into behind the scenes so that everybody in the boardroom knows what we're doing. So Maisie, so I can choose here. So who's in the boardroom? In the room, Maisie, Lola, Frankie, Sadie, Stevie, Sloan, or just Stevie and Sloan for this, or I can convene the board, meaning get everyone who's selected, you're in, let's go. the roles of the people inside of the advisors. Let me just go through them. Maisie is my financial CFO. She's all about profitability, cash flow, margin. She has P&L history behind her. She understands this. This is not me connecting to my QuickBooks or doing anything particularly financially sensitive. It is PDF copies, redacted information, but she does have that information. Lola is a revenue advisor, pricing, sales, and proposals. She's actually looking at it she's working closely with Maisie around profitability, but she has a different focus. Frankie is a marketing advisor, the CMO. She's all about content strategy, audience, visibility, return on investment, that sort of thing. Sadie is my CIPO, the product advisor, packaging, productizing, scaling what already exists rather than building new. This is not about thinking necessarily about a product, but studio build, studio CEO, those sorts of coaching containers are more product than service. So I have my design services, obviously, but those are something that whilst they provide a coaching service, they are a little bit of a hybrid. So you need to have someone who's thinking about it from that perspective. I have Stevie. She's the board chair. She is the strategist, big picture direction, CEO thinking, visionary, knows where I'm going and is here to help me get there. Sloan is my operations and implementation advisor. Is it with time, energy, capacity, process, systems, what it actually takes to implement? Sloan is probably the one I expect to go, you guys are having thoughts and feelings and ideas. It ain't going to work. So I can also add an advisor. Like if I go in here and I want to change the name and job and put a new job brief in, I can add them to the board. Okay. So that's really important because right now, even though it feels like a lot, I may need a new hire and I may think this boardroom, they're very financially skewed and I need a visionary outside of Stevie. I need someone who's the creative brain. I need someone who's going to hype up ideas and get excited and play that role because it's all about them essentially like a jury of peers. They're going in and they're fighting like a board of director and they just bring me the results. So in the back end, the way Fable has made it is nobody's correct. The idea that's presented to them, they have to play out every best pros and cons, best and worst for the business, knowing the full commercial business strategy, and they will give me the correct business information. There's other ways I can add extra things into numbers. If I'm having a concern, I've got a little worry tab. And this is where you can be really honest. And like all of this stuff is being captured in the back end so that I can really start to, you always try to write an email about, you see all these emails like this time last year, I was in this. I'm like, how do they remember that? When I'm in a dark place business-wise, I'm just keen to get to the next place and I'm quite optimistic and I forget that there are these sorts of feelings. So in order to be more transparent with you guys and talk about the things that weren't happening, I want to be able to track them a little bit. And I can add context. So I can update the history and context and commercial goals, team, pricing, that sort of stuff. A lot of that stuff's in the back end, but I can update it. And then I can also edit my job roles. I can make them so much more. Has seen more businesses die from vague numbers than from bad ideas, not interested in vibes. This was written by Fable, but I am going to go in and actually give really strict instructions to Maisie around what I want and what I don't want, and then with all of the advisors. And I may add that creative brain too. In terms of building this for yourself, you might want to just say to Fable, I have seen this board of directors application. How would I do that even in skills? If I'm if I'm up to just having some skills in Claude, could you build me a board of director skill? And this is what the app looked like that I saw. And this is the sort of devil's advocate thinking I need and guidance that I need, and put the strategy behind it and give it all that you've got. Map it out for me. How cool. You'll get king living skill and it will be there from today. It's just like that. It's really worth doing. This next one is actually the first application that I built, and I built it more than, at least 15 months ago. So you see it's off brand. It's just got this kind of green. It doesn't look quite the same, but I did get Fable to go in and just check all the data securities, tighten up how it works. It's really fun, this one. I don't run it as often as I probably should. I don't need to run it weekly, but I go in there whenever I'm feeling like I would like to pitch out. I want to do some journalist pitches or media pitches, or I want to pitch for some more workshops, speaking gigs, more keynotes. I want some more collaborations in my business. I want people to interview me on their podcast so I can be found more. So what it does then is it looks at my business. I'm interior design, business coach, ethical AI advocate. My focus areas, AI for creatives, studio CEO, cybersecurity, my audience, established designers, creative founders. And it goes and looks for journalists, like trade press, design media, tech journalists covering AI opportunities. So I can say, go and look for a really niche, strong fit, or go and look for something Australian, or let's go global, like only look for global. It accesses the web, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and trade press. So it's got like very strong rules in the back end. It's just a PR scout, but we don't do enough of this. And I think this would be great for interior designers to really start to build like, what projects have I pitched to House and Garden? When was the last time I pitched myself to do something scary? This is how you get your business to that crazy, scary level that you're probably afraid to move to. You've got to get involved in collabs. You don't have to speak on stage if it's not your jam, but it's something I love doing. So yeah, I want to do more keynotes. I want to do more workshops. I want to do podcasts. I want to do all these things. So I need to be coming in here and going, find me a good podcast opportunity in Australia. It'll find the opportunities. It brings them in like little seek job ads. And then I write the pitches. I have not automated Fable or anyone. I don't care how much of the king you are. I'm writing my own letter to get on that podcast because I am a podcast host that gets thousands of AI generated. Hi, Oleander. I loved last week's episode about designing your own success. I'm like, no, next. No effort has gone into that. So I write my own and I would encourage you to do the same. This next one is so fun. This is a lead magnet. And when I say lead magnet, it's a little bit for you and it's a little bit for me. So it is a audit on like how AI ready your business is. So what you do is you come in and there is a question here around someone needs to understand how your studio actually works, who you're for, how you make decisions, what matters to you, what makes your approach yours. You send them one current brand strategy document. It's written, organized, blah. B, you could explain it really well in a conversation over wine, but you trip up a little bit when it's in your head. C, have bits of it documented, an ideal client exercise from the year you launched your business, but nothing's really documented. D, open half an hour's worth of old files, folders, emails, and approximately 32 tabs. A little digital archaeology, if you will, you find nothing. And then you can record your voice note. Imagine someone capable had to step into your studio tomorrow. What would you need to explain to them because there's no document system or place? And you can record just a minute of, it's the Hot Mess Express. It's all of it. I've got nothing documented. Lord help me. I don't know what I'm doing. And that tracks towards your audit. So you can type or record and then you move to the next. And there's just 7 questions. And then Fable has been instructed to do a unique, bespoke kind of report at the end about how documented you are and how ready you are against what AI is looking for. So this is about being AI ready in your studio. It might surprise you, especially when you voice note. If AI hears good, it might just say to you, hey, it sounds excellent, but I would work on the naming configuration so we can find the files better. It's giving you real tips. This is a freebie. This is going to be on my website after Decor and Design. And you can take the quiz yourself anytime that you like. So come back and visit www.rhiannon-lee.com in about 2 weeks and take the AI ready test. But if you want to make a calculator, a lead magnet, if you want to make anything like that, use Fable. And if you're too nervous to do this kind of stuff, this is deployed live and there's some passwords and there was a little bit of techie stuff in it, I won't lie. If you're too nervous to do it, build it as an artifact first, a published artifact. Or get Fable to take your idea that you speak out loud to Claude using Fable 5 and map it into a scope document and just keep it on your files for later. Eventually, this will be like, you will be able to make this stuff no-brainer. Might be 12 months, it might be 2 years until you feel like you're at that level of AI literacy, but we're going there and you're going there. So get the king to map out your first lead magnet. Okay, if you've stuck around this long, this one is the one that you do not need a single piece of AI expertise, coding expertise. You need to know things about your business. You need to be curious about strategy. You need to know those sorts of things, but you can even work with AI and say, what are the top 10 things I should strategize with Fable 5? So this is Claude Agents. I just quickly named it that. I just opened a file, a Google Drive file in my drive, and I dumped all of these documents. These documents are full scope documents. This is something I encourage all of you to do. It is just a car park essentially of mapped out Fable, King level thinking strategy, launch strategy for September, a new funnel. What else have I got? A software as a service for Fable has created for me for interior designers. I've got this really exciting idea and I wanted to get that idea out at King level planning. There's phases of different builds, the launch command center, like some of these blueprints exist. Let me see if I can find one that is good to share. So I've got commercial. I don't want to share the commercial business stuff. Let me share this. This is an agent organization chart. And so essentially, Fable has drafted all of my managed agents that I'm going to so I'm going to build an agency and there'll be a head of marketing and then there'll be a head of Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, podcast, and email. They'll all be agents. All of those agents are scoped to talk to that marketing dashboard that I created. It's all sort of an interconnected system to understand my documented marketing in Notion and content strategy, where that lives. I didn't do a lot of that. I just verbalized what I want. Going forward, this is what my marketing agency looks like. It's in-house. It does this. I had the job descriptions and the organizational chart already set up because we do that in Studio Build. So I was able to point Fable to that organizational chart and be like, okay, now you build the blueprint and the mapping for how I actually set up these agents. And also here's all of the guardrails and things I will never let agents do or near. You need to build all of that in. So for you guys, you might want to start simple and be like, I just want an email triage agent. Can I get the king to plan it out so it's really cyber secure? Because I'm worried about that. So the king will think security first. So then you can be quite confident when you're putting your agent into place that it has considered all of the things that you actually do need to consider. And the last one, I'll give you a sneaky peek at because I built this for my students in Studio Build to experience because it is an application version of a strategy that I teach in the marketing week. And it is going to make their lives so simple, but it is going to be a subscription app for people that work with me because in the back end, there is so much of my IP. It isn't just do marketing. And it wasn't like, hey, King, do what you think is good for interior designers. It was a lot of stuff that I have created over the years. Obviously, I created back-end instructions for GPTs that were very specific and I pulled it all in. And there's this kind of full-brained thinking of how we do things. But I will show it to you. I'll give you a sneaky little look. The girls in the current cohort of Studio Build that started last week are going to get to use this application. But they are only going to get a taste of it because then it is a subscription model because it's probably what I use the most time on. So it wasn't using so much of Fable. It was actually pulling together so much strategy for Fable to do the best king work with my content engine. Let's go and meet the content engine. I've already logged in and I've actually got an example of one that I've already just done. So I'll just take you through. Essentially, each week you choose a long form piece of content. So is that your email, your podcast? So for me, I just grab the transcript of this podcast, drop it in there and go and repurpose it into everything else. You could voice note, like just anything that you might have written a blog post, you pop it in there. Then you choose your platform. Okay, I want Instagram. I want 2 reels, 1 carousel, no static. I want LinkedIn. What do I want to do? I actually just want to do a professional story or lesson. I'll have 5 pins, thanks. I will also just give me a little 2 conversation starters on Threads. I don't want any of that stuff. I do want a blog. It needs to be SEO aware, obviously. So all that's built in behind the scenes. And in terms of emails, I'm actually just going to do a story email out of this long form content. And then I click generate content and it goes and does that. Here's an example of one I did just to test it. So I put in last week's conversation with Natasha, Emily, and Ula. And I said, generate Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, blog, and email, and generate my content. So first it reads the piece. Now, the key with this is the person who puts the content in, I have said, put in a raw podcast episode, put in something you write. You do not use AI for the original long form piece. And then it has strict instructions not to make the other stuff AI either. It has to pull from your voice, which means that my Instagram carousel, don't clean before the cleaner comes, and it my email, it tells me why it chose it, and then it tells me the actual I was just cooking, hanging out, and then this came through on Slack from Jane. She'd built a skill that onboarded a new client, dropped their details in straight into the on a Friday night with a glass of wine in hand. The part that got me is that only a few weeks earlier, this woman who hadn't even downloaded Claude yet, I remember it weeks ago, week 2, she put her hand up and said, I haven't actually downloaded it. Hang on, I'll just pay for it. This sounds way more like me than ordinary copy, and there's a reason behind the scenes. I've also got some threads here, conversation starters, then link. I encourage the mess. One of the FAQs on my website literally says, please don't clean before the cleaner comes. Every single person who joins, so it's just talking. It's just me. It's my voice. So I'm really excited to be able to use this every week, put one great piece of my own voice in and get all of this stuff out. Now, I really liked the blog. It came through with recommended angle, some title options, meta description, the URL slug. Like, it's really helping me put this on my website and plan it out. And then there's the full draft. So the blog is fine. 3 designers who recently went through Studio Build, Ula of Ulala Design, Emily Beer of Music. So it pulled it all out of the podcast. All 3 designers wasn't a better prompt. It was building what Rhiannon calls a commercial brain, a single structure. It's almost like journalist perspective. I thought the blog was great for like my very first try of this. Now, what I really love in here that I was a must have for me when I was thinking about training, like using this weekly and who would be using it, is I put a what we found in this piece section. So every big long form content you put in the content engine will actually come out and say there was heaps of information, like there was a strong point of view. We had lots of angles. So it takes a look at how much was already inside your thinking that you could use on any platform. So there's teaching opportunities, there's practical advice. It just tells me what to do with it. Like, what are the angles? There were 3 guest stories. It could become its own standalone series. It just gives me some inspiration. So if I don't like something up here, I could use something like an angle that it's pulled out of my long form content to do something else. All right, we can start again. That's fantastic. What else? The other thing that I really like, or that was a must have for designing this, is you have 2 options. You can copy the entire session and then drop it into your own Google document or whatever, or you can download it as a full document. So you can also go to each of the sections and copy just what's there. So you can work through your content for the week, or have one downloadable week beginning June the 6th or whatever, and then you work from that downloadable application. I'm still working on improving it. I'm really excited about that one because there's a whole week in week 5 where I teach this rinse and repeat, easy marketing using AI. Strategy gets put into Notion. That is the last missing piece where all you need to do if you are inside one of my containers and you know this process end to end is commit to 45 minutes a week to write the right kind of long form content that the rest gets done for you. The strategy is handled by Claude and Skills and auto-populated into Notion, and then the actual active repurposing of that content is now handled by my content engine. So got you covered. All right. I wasn't going to do a podcast episode. I've got so much to do. I've got to go. Decor and design. It feels like, I have a lot to do. This time, next week, there will be no episode because I will be at lunch with a bunch of designers. If you're interested in joining, please come to see me on Instagram at @the_Rhiannon Lee and send me a DM. Everyone is welcome. We are going to go to lunch on the Thursday around 12:30. And so I will not have a podcast episode next Thursday, but this was an emergency. I need you guys to know that Fable is not for nerds. It is for everyone. It is free for everyone. Soon it is going to cost you a lot of money. So what I want you to do is go to Fable and say, help me with my business strategy, build me my content strategy. What analytics do you need to know more about my business? What can I tell you so that I can get a really great king level thinking strategy piece that I can save in my Google Drive? Yeah, write a wish list. Go on TikTok for 15 minutes and look what other people have made on Fable. There's so many people going, this is exactly what you must do on Fable 5 before it leaves on July the 12th. Whatever. Just do what you think you need and don't be afraid of it. That's the worst thing you can do is just let these tokens sit and expire. I'm not asking you to go into a hyperfixation and learn to code those apps, but I'm asking you to Google what is a live artifact and can I ask Fable to build me one? And what's a good example? What do I need? I'm a designer. Designers tell me every day that there's no unicorn technology where they feel like they have to log into all the different apps and have all the different tabs because they've got CAD and Canva. And Zero and Programmer and Notion, and they've got everything open all day long. It's well within your abilities to get Fable to design you a dashboard where it's your private OS, your operating system, and each of the buttons takes you through to the place you need to be, but you work from the operating system. I'd go talk about that. Please come and tell me whatever you build. I'm so obsessed with this world. I'm obsessed with productivity gains. I'm obsessed with interior designers not feeling that pressure that we always feel that there's no time and my to-do list keeps growing and I can't get on top of it. That is because we are doing everything. My big goal that I've been maybe not sharing publicly, but my big goal is to help over 500 interior designers this year get on top of that feeling, that crushing feeling. The entire world that I am building with AI education has one goal in mind. It is to stop playing every instrument in the orchestra and start being the conductor. I want you guys to have one job, the creative director. You stand at the front, everything else briefs into you, and you decide if it's a yes, it goes to market, no, it needs to change. I'll take over that. It needs a human eye. That is what I want for all of us. That is what exists in my business. That is what is beginning to exist in people who I've been working with thus far in the last 6 months. I want this for all of us. And so if today's episode can tell you anything, it's just want more, ask for more. Don't be afraid. Don't wait for an invitation to Buckingham Palace. Go and knock on the king's door right now and be like, I want to work with the king. I don't want to work with peasants. I've had enough of peasant life. So let's do it. Come and tell me what you build. If you've listened to this podcast in your ears and you're like, what on, this was bonkers. What is she talking about? Go back and watch the YouTube clip, see the pretty apps, see what you can have, and set aside, squirrel some time aside this weekend. It's not even work time. I know it's school holidays for us here in Victoria. I know there's a lot going on, but the king only comes to town once. Prioritize the king. Okay. I feel like this was so mad. Anyway, I can't wait to meet so many of you guys at Decor Design next week. If you are in my seminar or if you see me wandering the halls with a nervous face, please come and say hello. It's my favorite part of these big trade fairs is how many conversations I get to have with people who listen to the podcast, follow along what I'm doing, and it's just so nice to meet you all in real life. And those that I won't, I will speak to you in 2 weeks. Bye for now.